Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Guldkorn Expressen.
Yes. I have to admit, when you read that name to me last week, I had no idea what that was. At least I have an idea this week.
Now, Aaron, I want to take this opportunity to ask you about your previous train experiences. I know that both you and I have been on the world famous Cass Scenic Railroad here in the great state of West Virginia. But have you been?
Nope.
You've never been on the Cass Scenic Railroad?
Listen, I don't make Cass Scenic Railroad money, boat. That thing's expensive. I've been on other scenic railroads though. Hocking Hills, I've been on that one.
Okay, well that's great because I didn't want to ask you about a railroad that I'd been on. So tell me about the Hocking Hills Railroad.
Hocking Hills, which we heard about, is in the Hocking Hills section of Ohio.
It's very close to where I went to college. Yeah.
What's the name of that place there,
Hocking College is the
Hocking College. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to hawk all the stuff you own to go to college.
That's the nickname of Ohio University is the Harvard on the Hocking.
Oh yeah,
because it's also on the Hocking River.
No kidding. Well, I'm not as familiar with that area as you are, obviously, but they do have a classic. Well, they've actually got a train of two sorts there. What they've got is the train has got two different sets of cars. Some cars are your classic sort of sightseer, like open cars.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? There's just seats, and then they're open.
It's almost like it's like a bigger version of the train at the zoo or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And then they've actually got a couple double-decker like travel cars.
Really?
Was surprising. They're big travel cars that they. And you can, so if you want air conditioning and whatnot and be, I guess, less noisy, you can go set in those. And so we actually drove out in the open cars and came back in the air conditioned car. So that was nice. Yeah. But it's the scenic Hocking Valley sort of sucks.
Well, I imagine that it's probably similar to
This was a lot like Cass if you took the C off. I mean, it wasn't that good. Amongst the things we saw were junkyards, dumps. There was one great moment, probably the highlight of the entire trip, was when we saw, as we drove by, and it's funny because the conductor honked the horn at just the right time. There was a chick, because you're going through a lot of residential neighborhoods, and there was a chick sunbathing, topless on her deck. Wow. And this guy hit the horn, and she popped up real quick and ran in the house. That was pretty funny, but as I recall, this thing goes all the way out, and then you stop at a park or a scenic. Yeah, it's like a park. Yeah. I think there may be a museum there even, and then it could even be on campus. Both, to be honest with you, I don't remember exactly. But the train goes there after about a half hour, and then you get out, stretch your legs, get something to drink. Mill around. I knew they had snakes there. I remember that. They had
maybe that's their catchphrase. We've got snakes.
We got snakes. And they, they had somebody going around. You could pet the snake or whatever at your bag. And then you hop back on the train. This sucker does a U-ey. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then heads back to the station. And that's your ride. So I'm not gonna lie. It was not the most scenic railroad I've ever been on, but I guess it's more scenic than most. It was okay. It wasn't expensive, but and the kid Doug, of course, he didn't remember it now. This is the mistake I made, was taking Luke to do tons and tons of stuff when he was like 1 and 2. Yeah. He don't know what the hell happened last week. Right. So doing all that was worth.
Have you ever taken Luke to any of the Thomas the Train, like Ride Thomas excursions?
The only times he never comes hardly around here. He's been to Columbus and stuff. and Luke, now Luke doesn't give a crap about Thomas, but at the time we wanted to take him to one, but we just never. I don't think we ever got to go to one.
Yeah.
I hated Tom. It's funny. I like the show. We've talked about this, but I hate the toys because they cost. I mean, I've got a lot of money tied up in Thomas, and you ain't never getting that money back. That's
the
gone.
resale market is low on the Thomas stuff.
Oh yeah, those people are smart, and those toys. There's a lot of Thomases and Percys and all the rest in landfills all over. Making sure I'm sitting here because eventually you just want to get rid of them. And my kid had the train table and all that crap. Yeah. So like this Thomas obsession took up more space than an arcade machine.
What is Luke's?
Although when I say it that way, it makes me sure sound like a jerk. Now that I think about it. Because I guess I've got 3 or 4 Thomas the Tank engines.
Yeah, the difference is that whenever you want to sell those Thomas the Tank engines, you're going to be making some money.
Good point, Bo. Thanks for saving me right there.
So what is Luke's current obsession these days?
Well, anything to do with the video games, the phone, or the Switch. He loves Pokemon. Pokemon is perennial. This thing, it won't stop. It's another thing I've got some big money sink. He loves Roblox. He plays that a lot. So I'd say those are his major obsessions. And of course, whatever me and him are playing at the time. Right now, we're playing that crazy reliable delivery service. He likes that. We've been playing that quite a bit. And Lego video games. He plays that crap too. They're clever,
Yeah.
I get real sick of that stuff real quick, Bo.
You ever invite him to play a round of Alcon with you instead?
He's not that. He'll play some stuff on the arcade machine, but not stuff like that. Although I will say he saw me playing this week's game, and he actually sat and watched me play it for a while, mocking me, of course.
Well, it's hard not to mock a game like Guldkorn Expressen.
Did you have a train set were you a train set kid back in the day?
No, this is one of these things that growing up, I didn't have a train set, and I didn't know anybody that had a train set until I was probably in middle school. And one of the guys that lived 2 doors down from us was an old retired dude, and he had a whole a scale model of the town of Hurricane in his garage, which was insane.
No kid.
Yeah, and so that was I got into it a little bit, but that was around the same time that I was getting into lots of stuff, and I'd never. There's been times where I've contemplated buying, making a little train set, but the thing is it's just like once you get into it, it never ends. It never ends.
You should never do that.
Yeah.
You should you personally, John Bodekart, should never get into trains.
Yeah, it's
because you'll lose. The Chud's dad was a big train guy before he passed away. Oh, yeah. They had the full setup in his basement. And now when I go there, of course, he still lives in the same pad. His dad has a huge wall of nothing but engines that he's collected. And trust me, each one of these things is worth a small fortune because they're all ancient. Then he's got boxes and boxes and boxes. He could probably fill half your basement with his train stuff from ceiling to floor. Yeah. Just a ridiculous amount. And even like little chunks of track and stuff are worth a lot of money. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think
that's an expensive
If
hobby.
I was ever to get into it, I don't think I would do the landscaping layout thing at all, just because it's a tremendous amount of space. I could see myself getting into collecting the various types of engines, especially I really like Japanese trains. I think they look cool. But you're right. You're talking huge bucks, and that's just not what I want to get into.
Do you ever go to that thing? We've taken a look at this thing 3 or 4 times. The train, it's the model train, like Society of Dunbar or whatever, puts on a show every year.
I've been there before, but it's been a couple years.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. They have a real nice layout.
That's my kind of thing, where you can just stroll on in and all the work's been done for you, and you can just sort of gaze around and check it out. And then when you leave, you're done. I
don't have the attention to detail to do that sort of work or the artistic ability. And plus, what would get you is you've got that huge layout that's as big as a house, going through all these tunnels and crap, and you flip the switch and the sucker don't go because there's a open somewhere on those tracks, and it's your job to go through there. Screw that. I just like to see somebody else's good work.
Exactly.
That's fine with me.
Exactly. Well, Aaron, we're trains aplenty today on the show because not only do we have our Guldkorn Express train, the Hocking River Express line, but we also have the Duncan Styles train. That's the train I want to ride. Where'd
that one
go? Let's talk about what's been going on the site, Aaron. Everythingamiga.com.
Man, my transition I was going to use was just so much worse than that, I think. Let's talk. We only had one big dog this week, but the dog was huge. The Duncan Styles train pulled into the Checkmate station for part 3 of his build. If you care to have a look, this week he fits the power supply and gets power strung in, puts in all the connectors, does all the dirty work to get this thing running.
Look at that PSU. Look at that PSU, man. I just got done trying to fix this old Gateway computer a couple days ago, and
we should talk about that.
Yeah,
later.
and I would have loved to have something that looks as sharp as this Be Quiet PSU. This thing looks rad.
Well, unfortunately for you, Bo, the machine you're working on predates that by several decades. But the Dunk is. It looks like Dunk may have one more go at this, and then he's going to complete the series. But it looks good. Clearly, it's up and working.
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff. This is a good step by step. You go back and watch him do it. Hey, you'll learn a lot by just watching someone else put theirs together and see where they had problems and whatnot.
I've seen quite a few. Almost everybody involved in the Amiga community in any major way has gotten one of these things. And I've got to say that I've enjoyed Duncan's implementation the most because it employs sort of the best of the old and the best of the new.
Like what do you mean exactly?
Well, the way that he's putting in like his old accelerator and a CD-ROM. And he's got this new power supply that just looks so cool. But he's got the original A500 Plus board. He doesn't have one of those ACA boards like I think Neil used, which there's nothing wrong with those. But to me, it's a perfect combination of taking something from your youth, keeping the core, but then adding just this outer layer of goodness to it.
I hope you see. I'm going to do the reverse of what Duncan's doing, and I'm hoping you're as satisfied when I violently rip the guts out of an Amiga 500 and put in brand new hardware. We'll see what you think of that.
Get a Kira and a Pi, and you're good to go.
No more. It's funny. Speaking of Kira, I read this week they've got a new one that you can put on the Coco. It uses the Coco keyboard. This is exact same shtick.
Really?
So my first thought was, man, I could put a Pi in a Coco. Then I slapped myself about 7 times. Don't do that, you idiot.
All right, Aaron. Now it's time for the real train to pull into the station. The Gamble train is here, Aaron, bringing us this week's crop of Amiga news. And what a week of news this has been. This has probably been our busiest news week of the year. People are staying inside, they're social distancing, and they're Amiga undistancing, if you know what I mean.
Hey, before you get into the Amiga news,
yeah, man.
How about some non-Amiga
Let's
news?
talk about some Coco news to lead things off.
Well, we didn't talk about this last week, so we're going to give it a quick plug. As you may or may not know, me and Bode also have a show called The Coco Show.
Yeah, we do.
It's rich in Coco goodness. And Coco, we mean the TRS-80 color computer. And we are running a contest to give away. Give away a copy of Gunstar, the Battle for Earth, just hot off the presses, still sealed. Gunstar by Nick Marentes, and we are giving a copy away. It's a game for the Color Computer 3, but anyone's eligible. If you want it, you can come get it free, shipped to you free. Tell them what they got to do, Boat.
All you have to do is go to yonder iTunes, look up The Coco Show. Make sure it's our Coco Show, not some other stupid Conan O'Brien thing. And then write us a review. we will choose from the reviews randomly. We'll just put them all in a hat and pick one out, and the winner will receive a free copy of Gunstar.
Shipped anywhere in the free world.
That's right.
We'll put it in the mail straight away, Bo. And this is a good game. And like I said, if you've got a Coco 3, great, you're good to go. If you don't have a Coco 3, hey, grab it. You got it for later. And if you don't even collect for the Coco, or any of the above apply, this will also work on emulators. And the disc also comes with some of Nick's older games. Some of them he's enhanced.
Yeah, now
so it's a
you
good
should
bargain.
mention how you were actually one of the pivotal members of the development team in this game.
No, I will say it was nice of Nick to credit me. I was stunned when I saw that, but you were actually watching live when I noticed it.
Yeah, I mean, you were.
Like, what?
This game almost didn't come out until you you kind of pushed it through the door.
I had literally next to nothing to do with it. All I did was just play it, and told him what I thought. But it was nice for Nick to mention me. It's a really good game, and it exceeds what you would expect the Coco it would have the ability to do, especially in a genre like a shoot 'em
It's
up.
visually striking, is what it is.
Yeah. So if you're interested, it's simple. Hop over to iTunes, the dreaded iTunes, or Apple. What's it called?
Apple Podcasts, if you've got an iOS device.
And while you're over there, if you feel particularly froggy, just leave a review for everything.
Yeah.
Just right across the board. Coco Show, R. Sinclair, 1200 XL, Amigos, ARG. We'll take anything you got. But the ones for Coco Show are the ones where you're getting into the contest. And Bo, we're going to get into the contest, next week? Is that?
I think that's right. I think in May is when we're going to close it up. So you got one more week to get it done.
Beautiful. That's all I got on that, Bo. Keep them going.
All right. Next up, Aaron, speaking of new developments, there is a new, remember how last week we were talking about, building the perfect Amiga?
Yeah.
And this guy is putting an A1200 in a 600 case.
Oh, I put this up, actually.
Oh, okay. So tell me a little bit about this.
Well, it's funny. We were just talking about this exact same thing last week. And lo and behold, I'm flipping through Facebook, and someone had linked this up. I about fell out of my chair, and some dude did it, man.
I love this because he posted this on Amiga, and it's the normal Amiga forum community nonsense, where he's like, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this, and 8,000 people crap on him immediately, tell him he's an idiot, tell him to go home and never touch a computer again. Then 3 posts down, he's like, yeah, I did it. Here's some pictures. Eat it.
That's every forum.
No, it's not.
For
It's the
every
Amiga community.
No, it's not. They all are like that, and you know it. I'll tell you something. This guy, one thing I like about this guy, he just shows up. He goes, hey, I'm going to do this. And some people give him a little guff, and he just goes, well, here I'm doing this, and he just does it. And then he does it, and he finishes. He's like, I'm
Listen,
done.
man.
And everybody's like, well, crap, that's amazing.
If I walked onto the Coco Talk Discord, and I said, hey, guys, I want to put a Coco 3 and a Coco 1. You know what they'd say? They'd say, let's see it. Go for it, man. You can do it. You're the man. It's different.
Funny you should mention
it's different
that,
in other communities.
It's funny you should mention that because I was on the Coco Facebook. A dude is putting a Coco 2 or 3 in a TRS-80 model, like 1 or 2 case.
I love it.
Built-in monitor.
I love it.
And so he's put his own monitor in, and what he's done is taken the Coco and just shoved the entire keyboard up through where the keyboard would go on the other one.
That's awesome.
I was like, man, that's a pretty good idea.
That's awesome. I love it.
Give the guy credit.
So anyway, thank you for posting that, Aaron.
Hey.
Now, this is something that hits really close to home. If you recall, Aaron, that Jason replaced the power supply connector in the Amiga 600 that is currently in our possession with a special round plug that is a more common connection to that you can find more parts for. And again, this is something when posted about on the Amiga Facebook page, 10,000 people told him that he would be condemned to Hades for eternity for doing such a thing. Well, guess what? Suko Pera has shown up and he says he's integrated this connector into his open source Amiga 500 Plus mainboard clone.
Very good. So he got it right directly from Jason?
That's right. So this guy's creating a brand new open source Amiga 500 board, okay? And he integrated Jason's power connector into it because he knew it was a rad idea.
Listen, Jason's not just some kind of hack and hoser.
No.
This guy, he's got the skills to pay the bills. So I'm not terribly surprised. I will say this, because you're killing the Amiga community. The Amiga community's fine. You've always got a couple dipsticks out there. Plus, you've also got the crowd that doesn't want the original designs monkeyed with. So there's plenty of reasons to hate on it. But an open source edition like that, smart move. Those, they're reprinting those. You can now get those square power couplings now. You can still get the plugs now. Before you couldn't. You can get some now, but I mean, eventually, what's the point? You know what I mean? You know what the power input on the Unamiga is? It's a USB. Right. It's just like that's smart. Why? Listen, we don't have to dwell in the past, man. We can move on. Yeah. Warren's was a smart boy. They picked it up. Good for them and good for him.
Absolutely. Now, Aaron, next we have a new video from our friend Amiga Love. Okay, now I love Amiga Love because he is passionate about the Amiga 1000. And both you and I, owners of Amiga 1000s, we love that. And I especially love the fact that this guy is an NTSC Amiga 1000 guy, because whenever I have questions about my 1000, I always ask him first, and he's very responsive on the Twitter. So this is his collection. This is #1 with a bullet of videos that we will never do, Aaron. This is Amiga Love showing off his collection of real-time clocks for the Amiga 1000. So
I've got one. It was given to me.
He takes you through several, and he tells you about the pluses and minuses of each. There are these real-time clocks that fit in every conceivable orifice coming out of the Amiga 1000. I am not exactly sure as a gamer if I would ever benefit from having a real-time clock, but I know that they are useful in many practical applications outside the gaming world. So I respect Amiga Love for taking us through this journey, the journey of the real-time clock.
I will say, I'm looking at I haven't seen this yet. I don't know how I missed this, but the clock he's showing where it plugs in the joystick port right there, wacky. That's for sure. I remember when I had the Amiga 1000, and I remember not caring too much about the clock, but I mean, there were definitely a bunch of wacky ones, and plus they would come in other stuff, and I'm sure a lot of the stuff he's showing is stuff that, oh, by the way, had a clock in it, because that happened a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, that is Amiga Love. Make sure, if you're not already, subscribe to him on the YouTube.
It's killing me that I can't use my Amiga 1000. It drives me bananas because that stupid keyboard thing. I'm still working on trying to get a replacement freaking. I'm the only person on earth that can't get the keyboard to work. Everyone else.
I've been talking to Amiga Love because my big problem is that I just don't have I don't have a whole lot of game discs for it. So many of the games that we have are PAL games on disc, and so he has turned me on to some sources for NTSC Amiga games, and also there's a whole rigmarole where if you don't already have an Amiga, you've got to connect your PC to the Amiga with a null modem cable, so I've got to get one of those. But I'm on the case, man. It's going to happen.
I put a GoTech in mine. It's great.
Yeah,
I have it comes right off I have the Kickstart loaded at the first position, so it just loads Kickstart right away, and I'm good to go. I could just load up any game I want.
Cool. Next up, Aaron, we got more hardware from our buddy Tin Mark. Doug is talking about a very unique piece of hardware, something that not a lot of people had back in the day. CD-ROMs on the Amiga. What percentage of Amiga users do you think had CD-ROMs at all?
I never personally, back in the day, knew anyone had one. Not a single
I think
person
that the popularization of the CD-ROM sort of coincided with the resurgence of the PC as a gaming platform on the whole, or as a productivity platform on the whole. So I think that around the time the CD-ROM really started picking up steam, a lot of people were jumping ship off the Amiga. But of course, there were definitely CD-ROMs for the later model Amigas. What Doug is looking at this week is the Commodore A570 CD-ROM. This is a CD-ROM that you can actually connect to an Amiga 500. I had no idea that this thing existed. Had you heard of this before?
I remember seeing these in magazines back in the day, and they're just big, bulky looking tray drives, that whole bit where you have to put the tray
caddy
in.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to some of the boys on Discord about this, and when it comes to the CD-ROM, and listen, this thing seems to work fine. It turns your Amiga 500 into a CD TV for what that's worth. But the problem was just, what are you going to play on them? I mean, and yes, you got the Fred Fish disc. Somebody mentioned that, but I mean, in terms of CD games, like it's not like the CD TV was bubbling over with awesome titles. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of crap. So effectively, you're getting. I mean, really, it took away your reason to get one of these things. That was the problem. Yeah. Like you got to have a killer app or something to make you want to get one.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that
you can play music.
This is
big
This
deal.
is one of the cooler CD players I've ever seen. I remember that the PlayStation had a sort of a visual CD player too, but it didn't look as cool as this one. Now, of course, these days, if you're going to pick one of these things up, it's just because you're a hardware junkie and you like the obscure. But you know. That's what Tin Mark is here for. He's here to bring you the obscure and the strange and all of the things that you couldn't afford back in the day. And sometimes some of these things still continue to be expensive to this day. So
this is vaguely reminiscent of the CD playing software on the CD32. They've got a pretty cool thing too when you put a CD in there. Sort of reminds me.
Yeah. So make sure you check that out. 10-minute Amiga Retrocast. Coming up next, Aaron. This video, near and dear to my heart. When I first saw this pop up, I thought, boy, this is just another reason why she's the best.
I watched this one too.
So this is Kim Justice. She is doing a video on 9 obscure Amiga Euro platformers that don't suck. As you know, it's very difficult to actually find a platformer on the Amiga that doesn't suck. But
Untrue.
Kim has managed to pull 9 games out. I tend to, I don't completely agree with all of her choices.
No.
But there were a couple gems. And with any video like this, of course, you're not going to agree with everybody that's talking on here. But there were a couple games that she found that I really want to check out. One being, it's a game called, oh my gosh, I wish that I could remember it. It's the game that I'm turning to right now in the video. I think it's called Outlaw or Outlast, Outlander. Can you remember, Aaron?
Yeah, I remember where you morph into different animals. Yeah,
Odyssey.
That one was pretty
Odyssey.
Good. Odyssey.
Yeah. Odyssey looks cool. And then there's also another game, the last game that she looks out on here, called Traps and Treasure. And this game has a crazy story where the guy basically developed the game. The company took it, didn't pay him, put it out, and immediately went out of business. Have we heard that story before, Aaron?
No. It's funny. I have to say, and I'll give Kim credit, I had not heard of several of these games. I mean, she started off the list strong by picking. She started with her best
she
foot
started
forward,
off.
she picked Lionheart.
She started off talking about exactly the stuff that I'm on about all the time, about how the Euro platformers, they just can't compete with the Japanese platformers. They just can't.
Well, they're just different, though. I mean, it's a different philosophy on platform.
It's a sucky philosophy on platform.
Well, but that's your opinion. You're not European. Maybe they like it more. Oh,
yeah, they love it. That's why. Anyway, we're not going to have this fight.
Listen, exploration and collection, that's
definitely their thing.
She did pick a couple good ones.
Yeah, I really like
seeing
seeing Lionheart on there. I continue to believe, even though I'm not a big fan of Lionheart as such, it is an achievement on multiple levels for the Amiga, and it's not a bad game. So,
no, it's not. I was surprised as hell to see Kid Chaos on the list, but I was even more surprised when she put UGG on the list.
Because that's
that one is not a platformer.
Well, I think that you also have to look at this from the perspective, again, from Europeans who regularly put games like Bubble Bobble on a platformer list, which I don't consider Bubble Bobble to be a platformer either, or Rainbow Islands. So,
UGG, as I recall, Boat, and your memory's better than mine, because we both liked UGG.
UGG's great.
As I recall, wasn't that voted worst game of the year that year?
That was a shocking moment to me when people voted UGG. It is probably the worst named game of the year of all time. But yeah, I did not agree with that at all. That was UGG is a great game, especially if you like, it's a space taxi sort of homage. So check that out if you have it, even if it's not technically what I would consider to be a platformer.
It's an attractive game too, Bo. I like UGG.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a good video. Kim I think Kim gets a few of them right. That's for sure.
Next up, we've got I can't remember who put this up on the Discord, but this is a story about a Palestinian artist who paints with in real life, but also on an Amiga.
Oh, this is the lady that the boys over at Guru did a video
No,
on
I
a while
believe
back.
that this is a different woman. I think that lady...
Wasn't that chick's name Salma?
I don't think so. I think that this... Well, maybe so. Maybe I miss...
How many Middle Eastern
That's
women
true.
are painting
Maybe you're
with an
right.
Amiga?
Maybe you're
There
right.
can't be that
I just
many.
pictured her, for some reason in my mind, I thought she was even older. But...
Bam! I hope she's not watching.
I just lost all my cred with Selma here.
But your ability to coerce women and to communicate with them is amazing to me. My God.
Well, at any rate, this is I think you're right. I think this is the same woman that Bill made that machine for and all that stuff. So yeah, you're right. Let's just move on, shall we?
I'm sorry. Just keep going.
Aaron, Hollywood Designer 5.0 is out now.
Let me get my checkbook.
Respond.
Huzzah!
You know,
I don't know what
Hollywood
it is, but it
Designer
sounds
is,
great.
I think it's an animation program. So if you're still using your Amiga to do animation, you can do it with Hollywood Designer 5. I believe that this is a 4-pay thing that says there are native versions for OS 3, Warp OS, Morph OS, OS 4, and AROS. So they are going all out with all the...
That is massive support.
Yeah.
That's like a game that supports all the loser consoles. You know? I mean, think about
I'm looking
it.
for... let's see, and this thing is not cheap either. This thing sells for 100 euros for the base package, and then if you want the Hollywood 8, the Hollywood APK compiler and Remedios, you're paying $199.
Man, I should be teaching the class of Remedios. That's my life right there.
And then there's the Ultra Mega package that's $259. So, boy,
Is that what it's called?
I wish it was called the Ultra Mega package.
Oh, I was going to get my checkbook for real if they'd called it
This
that.
thing is, this is for the people that are still hardcore into doing productivity on the Amiga. So it's...
This is like Pixel Vixen stuff. Oh no,
this is like Clearcloth, that guy from Greece that always does the light wave stuff and stuff like that. That's who this is for. So anyway, it's cool to know that these sorts of things are still coming out for the Amiga. Now,
who's really using this stuff? Let's have a chat.
Well,
about
it's
this
like
for a minute.
asking who's
for application software, the 100 euros for your Amiga. Who the hell is using
Well,
this
it's like
thing?
who's asking who's using their Amiga for anything other than gaming. The answer is like 3 guys in their basements. That's it.
Oh, there's tons of people.
No.
But I mean, are they using? Most of them are like artistic stuff. Are there people actually running like their business on the Amiga?
You never know, man.
That's a question. If you're running your business or you're using heavy duty apps and stuff like business, I want you to send us a message or reply to this video, and we'll talk about it next
All right.
week. But I want to hear about that.
Well, you want to hear about this? Here's your walnut Amiga 500, Aaron. Have you ever had a hankering to fully encase your Amiga 500 in some sketchy looking wood?
What? Well, now I do.
This thing looks like a beat up Apple II that was rid hard and left to dry.
It looks like it's chocolate covered, or you could like break it off and eat it.
Yeah,
What did they do here? But oh yes,
you know what this reminds me?
that is.
I never
glorious.
actually saw this in person, but I've heard you talk about it so much that I almost feel like I have. The Chud's arcade controller.
Oh yes, made from the tree. This is a lot better quality. This looks pretty good up close. The far away picture not so good. Now, so someone literally made a wooden case for their Amiga. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it looks like there are actually 2 pieces of wood. It looks like there's like an insert, or maybe it's just the angle. It looks like maybe it was mitered out, on the inside
There's
here.
more than 2 pieces here. They've actually angled stuff. That's someone knows what they're doing wood-wise.
Yeah, like I said, I think I said Apple II at the beginning. What I meant was Apple I. Remember, the Apple I came in that crazy wood case too.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. In general, I'm a fan of wood cases, but this one's not doing it for me. I
like that polished wood look, but
I like
you know what
my
I mean?
favorite is just the wood grain contact paper. You slap that on anything, it looks great.
That's the arcade way.
Yeah.
I have to say, kudos. First of all, whoever sent that in, kudos for finding it.
That was me.
And then secondly, that is something I've never seen before, so I'm glad I saw it. That was real crazy.
I don't know how I stumbled upon it. It was a late night Reddit session, and I stumbled upon that.
No wonder you're so against forums. If you've been doing late night Reddit sessions, they'll turn any man
I guarantee
evil.
you that's the root cause. All right. This is not a new article, but it is a great article. As we were mentioned on Amitopia this week for having their video of the week for one of our previous shows, I ran across this article, and I'd never seen this broken down this way before. I found this to be extremely useful. This is the Amiga Specs and Possibility Guru Meditation Guide by Mr. Amitopia himself, Mikhail Bergseth. And actually, this is pretty new. It came out April 16th. How far can you upgrade your Amiga? And there's a simple matrix here where it charts out what you can do with each model Amiga. Now, I'm sure for you, you've got all this stuff memorized, but for somebody that's relatively new to the Amiga hardware scene, I was like, I wonder how much RAM I could put in my Amiga 100 or 1000. Turns out you can put in 128 meg if you've got the Vampire. So, but anyway, have you seen any kind of a grid like this before, Aaron?
No, I was just looking it over. Good find, Bo.
Yeah, I was very impressed with this, and there's all the Zorro. Like, I didn't realize that you could put Zorro. Is a Zorro 1 card basically your side car? Is that a Zorro 1?
Listen, I've never called that. It is I guess that's a Zorro port, but I always think of Zorro as the internal ports.
Right. Yeah. Anyway,
those are Zorro 2s that are the internals, I think. And Zorro 3s.
You could put up to 8 meg RAM in your CDTV, Aaron, if you ever get a CDTV.
Oh boy. You could have the most expansive memory doorstop on Earth. Right. I want one. That's a sad thing.
And finally, our final story of the week. This is a brand new Medium post, and this doesn't really tell us anything new. However, it is a very nice summation of the Amiga story and where the Amiga community is today. This comes to us from Adam Spring, who posted this up on Medium. And it basically just talks about all of the different, I wouldn't say competing initiatives, the initiatives that sort of coincide with each other that are going on in the Amiga community these days. The Amiga 1 project with Trevor Dickinson. Boy, Aaron, I had a chance to take a look at one of these things in Amiga Ireland, and I was very impressed. This kind of reminds me of, the Mac Pro of the Amiga world, where it's insanely expensive, but it looks super cool sitting on your desk, and you're not really sure what you're going to do with it, but you're going to use it a lot because it's cost you.
You were impressed.
I was very impressed.
I'm kind of surprised to hear that.
And the guy, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the guy that owned it was he was selling me on it, man. He was telling me all the cool stuff about it. So anyway, you've got that. He talks about Amiga Inc. and how it's changed hands a million times. Amiga 1. And anyway, I had a good read. I thought this was a good sort of summation of what's been going on. So if this is one of your first episodes of Amigos and you're wondering what the big deal is with all the different things that are going on in the community these days, you could do worse than checking out this post here on Medium.
Ringing endorsement. You could do worse. Hey, but just at press time, I want to make one more mention, especially since he's here in the chat room right now. Doug from 10 Minute Retro Amiga, whatever podcast, has put up a video that he made a toaster. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah. He actually put that. I think that went up today, and I was going to mention it next week since we had so much news this week.
Well, too late now.
All right.
It's mentioned. Doug has been toying and cajoling and manipulating the video toaster, and he's produced some video with this thing, complete with 1980s and 1990s style wipes. All these crazy
So anyway, we will actually talk about that next week when I have it pulled up and we can give it a good look see. So that's a little
we could mock. Yeah, we do need. It is sort of a visual story.
So we're gonna have some more great Amiga news already in the can for next week. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But that's going to wrap up the Gamble Train's bounty of goodness.
That was some wacky news this week.
As it pulls into the turntable and backs into the roundhouse. You hear me?
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Everything I know about trains I learned from Thomas, including the Toby anthem. All right, Aaron, let's talk about Guldkorn Expressen.
You know what I like about this week's episode of the Amigos?
What's that?
Boat? We have a tradition here on the Amigos that anytime we talk about anything that involves trains, the episode's a runaway hit.
That's true.
It never fails.
True.
That Thomas the Tank Engine thing we did was one of the, or you did it, I think, a plate that was one of the highest viewed things we've ever done.
Insane.
And let's not forget Thomas Pinball, which is so we've covered plenty of change. This is a non-Thomas affair. We'll see how it holds up. So the old Guldkorn Expressen,
right.
But what does that translate in English?
Well, I believe it's gold, like the color gold or golden, and then corn is the shape of the puff there. So this is very much like a Honey Smacks sort of cereal.
Yeah, it complete with bear. So I'd heard of this just because that someone, maybe you, but someone on the Amiga channel did a play of this long ago. And I remember when it popped up, I was like, what the hell is that? And it was this.
Boy. Are you saying I did an Amigos plays of this? I had no memory of that.
We have one on the site. Yeah, I don't know who did it.
Maybe Chris Folds
I can't remember.
did it. He loves this game.
This was released in '91, Boat, on a disc. And this is a Denmark exclusive. Have we ever done anything that was specifically made for the Denmark people?
Not that I'm aware of, but I hope this isn't the last one.
Now, you've also got, they made another version of this, and it's apparently the exact same game with some minor changes, called the Callias Puffs Express.
I don't even believe that this is a different game. I believe it's just a different cereal.
Right, but yeah, that's right. That's what I mean. They just,
it's a rebrand.
Slight change. That's right. Right. 2 players, hot seat if you're so inclined, developed by an outfit called Silver Rock. They did. Now it's funny, believe it or not, I've heard of some of their games.
Really?
Yeah, they did George Glaxo. And they also worked on. They did Callus Puffs Express, and of course, but they also did the Hugo series. And I actually have played a couple of these Hugo games.
I want to say that
where I got them from.
I want to say that we did. Wouldn't we do an Amigos on one of the Hugo games?
I don't think so.
Because I remember talking about the movie. I don't know.
What movie?
Hugo.
I don't think these are. I think he is a Hugo, like a little elf.
No,
or dwarf
Hugo
or
is like there's like a clock and there's a kid. There's some other stuff.
I don't think that's this. But what? Hey, someday the committee can jump on this. The fellows that worked on this boat actually have done things that we both loved. Believe it or not. The coder, Soren Gronbeck, amongst the things he did was Sword of Sodan.
Really? Wow. One of your faves.
He coded that bad boy. Much of stuff I've never heard of, Data Storm, Giganoid. The guys that did the graphics on this, Martin Larson, he did a game called The Moochies, which I would be interested in looking into. And the other graphic guy, Torben Backager Larson, amongst his contributions to the Amiga was Battle Squadron and Hybris and Sword of Sodan.
Wow.
He did some of the graphics.
That's
on all
crazy.
Now, he could have been the opening scene guy, but I mean, still, it's neat. The music was done by a fellow named Jesper Olsen, who worked on George Glaxo and Harold Handtand. So go figure. So these and this was converted over to the Amiga by Jesper Olsen as well, according to the credits. So ECS, OCS, this actually got ported to the C64 and DOS, if you can believe that sort of thing. So what is this thing, Bo? This is another one of these games that has a tie-in to a product, like you mentioned. It's funny, we've come across. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time we've done one of these things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's your classics. There's all the Colin Curley Quavers. You got your Penguin Biscuits.
Quavers has been a repeat offender.
Yeah, the Penguin Biscuits on James Pond 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you were right, of course. This is a product game for these cereal. And again, when you said Sugar Smacks, that's what I reminded me of. So apparently,
isn't Honey Smack? That's a frog. It's not a bear.
Well, Sugar Smacks is the bear.
No, it's all the same. They just changed it from sugar to honey. It's always been the frog.
there's a bear. We got all kinds of crap. It doesn't matter. So in this game, your job is as the designate mascot for this cereal is to deliver the cereal to the end of the level so it can be dumped in the box. And then it can be, I guess, presumably transported to all the boys and girls. Now, I'll tell you something right now. If you had to go through this effort to make one box of this stuff, this cereal would be $50 billion a box because you're running an entire train line. You're doing all kinds. You're paying this bear God knows how much money.
That's true.
So what are you doing this? Well, this I have to say, this is a pretty unique puzzle game. I mean, I'm sure there have been games like it. I know we've played stuff similar, but I still thought it was kind of interesting. You really control two people in this game. You're controlling.
You almost control three. It's like you control the train, the bear, and your buddy.
You control. What do you mean, your buddy?
I don't know what that thing is. The fly thing.
That's a bee.
Is a bee?
Yeah.
Weird.
Did you see the close-up?
I forgot. Oh yeah, I forgot about the close-up we're about to see right now.
So anyway, you control a bee and a bear that drives a train. Your job is to go out, take your train, get the cars that hooked up, go and get the cereal put in the cars, then add that sweet drop of honey to each car, so the cereal gets that beautiful, delicious Guldkorn taste. And then you have to negotiate your way to the end of the level where you'll dump the cars into the box, the cereal box. Along the route of these railroad tracks are various obstacles and switches. And your job is to take your little bee, and he goes out and manipulates the switches when they need to be manipulated. He does a few other things too. So this is one of those deals where basically the track splits into multiple directions, and your job is to use these switches so you can take your train backwards and forwards up to the appropriate track to pick up cereal or whatnot. It's a pretty wacky game. Now, you're probably asking yourself, Boat, I know you're not, but if you're never played this before, you're like, how the heck do you do all this stuff with a joystick and a button? Well, they've actually, amazingly, and I'll give the game credit, they've come up with a pretty decent control.
Absolutely.
A control cycle.
It's fantastic. The controls are great.
So, it is. I mean, who'd have thunk it, though, is my point. It's a game about cereal. So if you move the joystick around, your train will go around. If you hit the button, the train will keep doing whatever it's doing, and you'll be controlling the bee. All right, and then so you can run up and do switches and stuff. So what you learn pretty early on is that you don't want to be going crazy eight bonkers down the track and then decide to switch over to the bee, and because your train will careen to its death. And so you've got to basically slam on the brakes of this train, do the bee, then go back to moving the train.
Or
and it's not
if you like to live life on the wild side, you do let it careen down the tracks, and you try and just see if you can. Because I did that. Part of the fun for me in this game was sort of like living life on the wild side. I would get the train going down the hill, switch over to the bee, flip the switch, hit it back, get control right as soon as I needed to slow down, then slow her down. Casey Jones, 2020.
Yeah, that never worked for me. So I was the slowest, most methodical trained cereal delivery bear you've ever seen. Now, it wouldn't be a game if all you did was control a bee and a bear and drive a train full of cereal down the tracks. That's nothing. So you've also got other obstacles that spice things up. Occasionally, you'll come across boulders in the tracks. You'll also come across dirt that falls in the tracks, big pile of dirt. You'll even come across down trees. You also have parts of the track that are like jacked up that you can't go across. So what do? Well, this is the mascot cereal bear who's also packing dynamite.
Yeah,
brother.
he is.
And my favorite part of this game by far is when you have the bear casually lean out the side of the train and throw dynamite.
Just fling it.
That's the best part. It never ceases to amuse me that this happy-go-lucky bear's winging dynamite and stuff, but he can. So, and you're thinking to yourself, well, how the hell do you do that? Well, you hold the button, and a little menu pops up. the choices on the menu are like go out and dig dirt. That's a choice.
And these are if you're
Dynamite's
listening,
a choice.
these are in cardinal directions. So you got up, down, left, and right. There's 4 different things.
Thank you. One of them is jump. One of them is eat some of the cereal and somehow jump your train.
See, the stronger the bear is, the higher the train can jump. It's perfectly logical.
Now, all this is well and good, but occasionally you'll also get a cut scene for this stuff. For example, in the aforementioned bit where you need to jump your train over something. And all the places I went to jump, it was a fallen tree because there's nothing you can do about those. And again, I didn't get super far in this game, so I watched the video and it looks pretty much the same all the way through, but I didn't, there may be other stuff, but I didn't see it. So when you go to eat the cereal, the game stops. There's a brief load, and then there's a close up of the bear, and he's talking. I guess, and he's talking in. What's he speaking?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's speaking Danish. But
I mean, he's like, whoa, it's very disturbing.
It is.
My kid was like, what is that?
That's probably the worst part of the game. I mean, it physically made me uncomfortable when I would hear those voice samples. It
was like the devil. And the thing is, this is the nicest, friendliest looking teddy bear, and then you hear, you're like, whoa, he's summoning a demon. and then he'll eat the cereal. There's a little animated cutscene, and then you can jump your train. There's another animated cutscene where when you go to put the honey in the cars, there's like they have the water thing for a proper train. This thing is a beehive shaped thing that dispenses honey, and you have to take your little bee up to it. And there's a cutscene, and the bee's all smiley. He's like, "Hey, mercy, he does some of that crap too, and it's 20 octaves higher. This bee, and he put the drop in. Thankfully, it only does that once per level because you would want to die if it did it every time. Although anytime you eat the cereal,
I seem to remember that he would speak out. He would speak to me throughout the course of the level.
Oh, yeah, he talks.
He's a talker.
He said, but I mean, that's the most disturbing thing. Something else that is kind of funny, let's say you're careening, like locomotive breath style, you're careening down the tracks, and you ram your train into, a tree. Well, you would think that would be hideous. Right. But in this game, it's actually cute.
He's loving it.
Cutscene where the bear just is standing looking over the damage. He didn't care. He's smiling.
He's a union man. He knows nothing happened to him.
What did you think of this, Bode? I've been chatting for a while. Give us your thoughts.
It's unique. I was not expecting a serial-based puzzle train simulator.
No.
There are aspects of this game that I thought were really clever. The controls are amazing. Amazing controls. They did what every game should do when faced with only one button. They made it work.
Yeah, they did.
I thought the graphics were great. Very, very colorful. The music was fine. I mean, just like all music. I mean, there's this. They didn't go out and hire John Williams to compose this score. They got your normal computer music guy to come in and do a track.
But it's upbeat.
It's upbeat. It does get old after a while. I did have to mute it after a while. I was disturbed by the way the bear looks as he's just like riding in the train because he's fully expressionless. I mean, his face, it's like a mask of either joy or abject terror. I mean, he looks weird in the way that he speaks to you throughout the level, as we talked about before, just very, very disturbing.
Even if that was in English, it would be disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
Being in another language makes it even more disturbing. The way he's like, it's very weird.
I think that I would have preferred to just excise the bee completely from the game and just have whenever you, like, if you could either go over, whenever you run over a switch, it changes it, or maybe you have to like go to the switch and push the button and maybe make that one of the commands. I don't know. I didn't feel like that.
You got to have the bee.
Yeah,
buddy.
I'm sure that he's, maybe he's part of the marketing and the cereal too.
That's right.
But, and of course it does make sense, the whole honey thing and everything. The worst part of this game is the fact that if you mess up, you have to go back to the beginning of every level. They need to have a way, especially because this is a game that's ostensibly for children. I mean, it's a product, it's a product based, serial thing. This is not going to be something that they're marketing to adults.
Who was this made for? That's something I kept asking myself, because there's no kid going to play this.
It's so so frustrating.
You want to teach your kids that you can wing dynamite? Doesn't seem right.
Right. And so this game could have been a really above average game if they would have put in some kind of a checkpoint system, or give me some hearts, give me a life bar or something like that. As it is, I got so frustrated. Even just trying, I was like, I'm going to beat this first level no matter what. It took me forever to beat it, not because I didn't understand what I was supposed to do. I did, but I would just I would lose control of the train, or I'd hit the button, in excitement, and accidentally change control over to the B without realizing it.
That's the biggest problem.
Whenever you have to go to jump the train, you have to, as soon as that cutscene starts playing, you have to start mashing that button like there's no tomorrow, because when you come out of that cutscene, your train is traveling Mach 5 towards this tree branch that's only about 10 feet away from you, and if you don't hit that button, you're going to run right into it. The train does not jump on its own.
When that happens, I've never quite been sure. I clear the tree every time, but much like you said, whenever it happens, I'm hitting the button and hitting up on the joystick. I'm not sure what.
You're covering all your bases.
I wasn't sure what. But you have to, because it's a tree, man. This game is funny because, like I said, it seems like it's put together for kids, but I mean, this would be a tough. Maybe Dutch kids are really smart.
Maybe so.
And because here comes a dumb American. I'm much like yourself. I didn't exactly.
We should mention that when you say Dutch, you actually mean Danish, because those are different. Yeah.
Danish. Excuse me. The truth of the matter is, once I figured out what was going on and got past the first level, of course, this is your classic European game where you really don't need any sort of written stuff. Everything's pictures, so it took me a little while to figure out what those pictures meant and how to access the menus.
And it doesn't help that there's no English manual available for this anywhere online I could find.
Right. Well, I had to watch a guy play it, because I kept getting to the tree and I'm like, what the hell do I do here?
Right.
Well, so once I got past the first level and realized that you can't go crazy on the train, I think I got to the fourth level on it, and I actually enjoyed it. You're right. I will say I played this one a lot with Amiga Forever, and it was for save states. Because I didn't even think to use save states. That would have been a good idea. Oh yeah. Well, listen, I'm like yourself. I don't want to go through that whole rigmarole again. This is a game I don't know how much replay value it would have once you know how to do the puzzles. The biggest gripe I've got in this game is and it's not really the game's fault, but it's one of the side problems with the control system, and you brought it up, is the fact that you hit that button accidentally sometimes, or panicky. And so I can't tell you how many times my train would be careening off that to the one side of the screen, and the B would be gone. That's because I thought I had the train, but I had the B.
What would have been nice if they would have taken the top left corner of the screen and just had a little picture of a train or a little picture of a B, and whenever you push the button, it just goes. Yeah. Something
that would indicate that you had switched. Would even just an audible sound would have helped.
Yeah.
But a picture would have been nice too. That's the game's biggest flaw. Now, is it one you'll get used to? Yes. Is it one that will keep you from enjoying the game? No. I think eventually, because I got better at not doing that, but it still happened all the time, with control and stuff, getting backwards on it. But overall, I thought it was a cute game. I thought it was for something that's a tie-in with a product. I thought it did a good job for the product. I mean, it's cute. It's almost like playing a commercial for something, So I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. You're right when you say the bear's lifeless face leering up at you from that train is disturbing. And the fact that he doesn't care if the train wrecks or not. No one cares about nothing in this world. They don't care. All the cutscenes of when you get killed are just them, just like we don't really die. They just don't. They don't care. The bear doesn't seem to be mad at you, So I guess there's that.
I do like that. They put a lot of care into the actual like whenever you like they could have just made you go to the end of the level and that would have been the end of the level. But the fact that they had the animation of you dumping the cereal into the boxes, it reminded me. I had this toy when I was a kid. I think it was called like the Big Loader or something like that. But it was this train set. And well, it wasn't really a train. It was a Fisher Price thing. But anyway, it had like the hopper where you pull in and you push the thing and the things come down. And you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So that is the. It reminded me of that, and that brings back good memories. So.
I actually tried to look this up on the PC, and I actually had the DOS version of this, but I couldn't get to work on my PC. I don't know why. Because I was kind of interested to see how I was going to look. And I've heard the C64 version's okay. I did look up some reviews, and I know we've got some reviews on Discord. The only review I came up with was the Lemon review of this, and the people in Lemon give this a 6.94 vote, which I know you're going to say that's super low for Lemon, and it sort of is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
this is our first 6 we've ever done on Lemon.
Oh, it can't be. Because we've done other games that are far worse than this
the
one.
Lemon crowd, though, pumping it up.
Yeah, please. How do we do on Discord?
We got a couple of reviews on Discord. Let me pull those up real quick. So, as always, if you are a Patreon supporter of Amigos, you can join our Discord server and you can post your own review for us to leave on the air. Our first review this week comes to us from the one and only Graham W. Vebke. He says, I could only assume this is a Danish license title for some Guldkorn type cereal, which forms the game's objective. Collect the carriages, then the cereal and honey, and drive the train to the destination, using TNT to blow up any obstacles, or the driver will use a shovel for the smaller ones. Yeah, I thought that was odd, Aaron, that the TNT can blow up massive boulders, but it's unable to remove small piles of soil from the tracks. You can even make the train jump. Not a bad puzzle type game, and you can switch control to a B to control the track switches and honey taps, then backing in. You can't drive the train carelessly or you will have to start again. There's even DOS and C64 versions of this, but it doesn't excite me like it does Chris Folds. 7 out of 10. Chris Folds writes, welcome to one of my guilty pleasures, the charm and quirkiness of a specky game in an Amiga wrapper. Whimsical, fun, relaxing, and full of charm with a surprising deep game underneath, and it's something that fires all my member berries back to a simpler time. One of my all-time favorite 16-bit games on any platform, 9 out of 10. Wow. And finally, Pixels at Dawn says, this is a nice-looking puzzle game and certainly different, but you could never mistake this for anything other than a promotional game. It starts simple and stays that way till the end of the game with very little variation in mechanics. But don't get me wrong, this is fun and not too taxing, as gameplay proceeds at a sedate pace and provides a good distraction in short bursts. The beautiful animations that appear periodically get special mention too. Worth a look, but not going to blow any minds. 7 out of 10. I disagree with that. I believe that you could turn this, you could take the Guldkorn label off this thing, and it would be up there with, a ton of puzzle games on the Amiga that don't have the promotional branding. I think this is an above average game.
I think this would be a great game if we could rebrand it for West Virginia.
Make it
where we could actually replace the cereal with coal, and we it would be perfect, and replace the bear with some grizzled old miner.
Absolutely, I love it.
It would work. It would work out great. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent game. I'd say 7. I'd say that's probably about where I would put it. I did have a look on eBay for this thing. Believe it or not, I couldn't find any.
It's a shame.
Good luck.
All right, Aaron. Well, as we roll towards the end of the podcast this week, I do want to thank all the fine folks that have joined us on Twitch live. We record this show live every Friday night on Twitch. We've got Challenged Moose here with us, Ricky DeRocha, Pixels at Dawn Gaming, doing a great job modding in the chat, Frodo NL, Duncan Styles, Darkwing 602, let's see, Cowbird Boy is with us. Hi, 7 Tin Mark, Mitsuyama. Pretty good crowd in the old
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I know
today.
Edvin was around her. Oh, yeah, I put Edvin there too. So, all right, Aaron. We also want to thank all of our Twitch subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing if you have subscribed to us on Twitch. And we have something a little bit special today for the Patreon Song Challenge. Before we unveil it, I want to congratulate all the winners of last week's Patreon Song Challenge. Last week's song was Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys.
Now,
Terry, how...
I know what you've got here is very special. You want to? You might as well save it till after the videos and unveil it at the end of the show.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the videos. Well, I want to announce the winners here. Terry Hatfield, Pixels of Dawn, Pack Billy, The Slow Norris, Missiyama, and Barkbit. And Barkbit says, as it happens, me and my wife's personal song. You know, I'm sure that whatever version they were playing during their special times in the past, they will replace with the Patreon song going forward. So let's talk about what's been going on the old YouTube channel, Aaron.
There's been you put up some great stuff this week. It's got to be, there's a lot of good stuff, and you were a busy boy.
Let's see here. I got to pull it up and switch the window over.
Bingo.
All right. First up, we got a new video from the Brutal One, Brutal Barracuda. He continues his series of the top 10 most played Amiga games from some of our most ardent Patreon supporters. This week, Aaron, he's got Chris Fold's top 10 game list. Did you have a chance to check this one out?
No, I didn't even see that. It's funny, I just mentioned Brutal last week on ARG, and here he comes.
You know, Brutal does great work. You know, I love the way that he's got these formatted, and they're so well done. I haven't seen this one either, but I will check it out and see what Chris loves about the Amiga. I know that it got some great comments. Lots of people agreed with his assessments. I put up, this is the first of many games that I streamed live on Twitch last week. Finally got a chance. After many weeks of fussing around with various cables and things, I finally figured out a way to get my Spectrum Plus 2 that was given to us by none other than Roshi, get that hooked up to the CRT so I could get a chance to fire up the Magnum, Aaron. The Magnum is the light gun for the Spectrum, which was given to us by the one and only Pixels at Dawn. And of course, I couldn't think of a better game to kick off this series than Bullseye, the classic 80s game show, trivia darts game show. Have you watched any Bullseye, Aaron?
I'm not. Trivia darts.
Yeah, trivia darts. So you fire a dart at the board, you answer a question. I had pretty good results with the old Magnum. So you can see my reaction is it actually worked the way it was supposed to. So yeah, check it out. It was a good time, and I got the Johnny Castaway screensaver playing up there. Remember old Johnny Castaway from back in the day, Aaron?
Oh yeah, I remember that thing.
Good time. All right, Aaron, coming up next, I recorded another trombone tune. We got the Dr. Mario theme and the Bubble Bobble theme playing here. Let's see. Actually, I believe that the Bubble Bobble theme we talked about last week. So now, were you a big Dr. Mario guy, Aaron?
You know, Teresa, that's her favorite game. You need to record the other song for Dr. Mario.
Yeah, I would love to have there's a bunch of great tunes in this game, and I'm on the lookout for the other sheet music. So
now, how are you coming up with this stuff, Bud? Are you just are you actually writing it yourself? Or you
gosh, no. Yeah, I'm finding arrangements. There's a guy called Tuba Peter, tubapeter.com, and he's got a website full of free sheet music written for trombone, tuba, and so I'm just playing it off there. Let's see, Aaron, moving right along, we've got Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat 2 on ARG this week. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you chose those games?
Yeah, this week the wheel picked games you'd played for 50 plus hours. And it's funny, when we first pulled this, I was like, man, what am I going to pick? But it turns out that I've played tons and tons of games for 50 hours. I sat down and thought about it. And so it's funny that me and Brent both ended up picking fighting games, but of course we both love them. And I picked Street Fighter, of all things, for the Super Nintendo, Street Fighter 2. And just because it's sort of a special game for me and Brent from back in the day, because we actually pulled our money to buy it, which was a rare alliance. It ended badly. And then Brent picked Mortal Kombat 2, which is a game that he would leave our house at midnight and go to a truck stop to play. I remember that happening all the time. So if you want to hear wacky stories about dumb things we did, tune in ARG this week. Next week, we're going to be looking at, or this coming, I guess we'll be recording it this coming Sunday. For those that are live, we'll be recording games on the GBA.
Yeah.
A couple of Game Boy Advance games.
I'm super excited for that episode. My favorite part of the ARG episode last week was when you recounted the story of how you played Brent for the ownership of the cartridge. Yet you only had one Super Nintendo.
Yeah, actually, I didn't have any at the time. It's funny because Brent's version of that story makes me sound sort of like a jerk, and I don't remember it that way. So I don't know who's right. I'd say probably me.
And finally, Aaron, Ask the Amigos, April 2020. We're doing these about once a month. Once a month, we compile all the questions that our Discord family asks us, and we sit down and answer them. This week, it was dominated by that Tiger Show questions, which irritated you to no end, and it annoyed you so much you almost stopped the episode in its tracks.
It wasn't that bad. It's just that listen, I got on Facebook one time, and there was no Tiger stuff. All right, then like the next day, this thing's everywhere. I'm like, what in God's name is this? And I keep more and more and more and more. Listen, I hit the wall. I hit the wall in this stuff. I don't care. I'm not watching this weird thing.
So anyway, that's going to wrap up this week's channel videos on Amigos Retro Gaming.
Just spit it out.
Okay. Boy. Does it ever seem like I do 87,000 segments on this show and you do one?
Yeah, it works out great.
Yeah. So, Aaron, it's time for the Patreon song. We did get one late arrival. John Cook has returned to the fold as an Amigos supporter. So we welcome him back. And we have a very special song this week. And I hope you enjoy it. Here it is.
1, 2, 3, 4. Rich Ferrero, she, Frodo, and Elsa Linser. Take me Zebedee's magic roundabout. Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorglove, Commodore Kid. Your goodness and reflection, Simon Ledge Capping, Crispy Kilobytes and Caffeine. Mike W. Decker, Creekwood, Gary Heather. Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong. Andy Jones, Lobster, Manada, Tin Man, and Amiga, Retro, Casper, Narwin, Retro, Man Cave, Tim, Simon Crow. Joseph Harrison, Kyle Leder, Bob O'Hara, Matthew Merrimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zobarfit, Roland Burke, Andrew Bunce, Joe the Zombie, Leaf Kellam, Alan Kevbach, Check Day. Lord John Marshall, Matthew Perrone, Ricky DeRocha, Rippy Dead Boy, Vicky Cities, Eva Slow, Norris Stefan, Zorgard, Mortensen, Ethan Helen, Lindo 75, Christopher Hassel, Robbie Abbott, Chris Bowles, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Drew, Graham Debke, Lane Vinson, Adam Battersby. Vintage, Gary Huckes and Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, takes from the crypt. Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Kruger, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Humberstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Derek Cole, Jason Walls, Pixadon, and Kjolbjorn Bond.
We're back. So if you know that song, you can send me a message at john@amigosretrogaming.com. No, that's not right. Well, actually, that would go to me too, because all those URLs go to me. But john@amigospodcast.com, and I will announce you. I will announce you as a winner on our next show.
Very good, Bode.
All right, Aaron. It's been a long journey. This has been a long episode of Amigos. Next week, we are going to be playing. This is a level lore joint, and I do want to thank Chris Folds for his choice, suggesting this to the Amigos Game Selection Committee, and thank the Amigos Game Selection Committee for voting on it. Next week, we're going to be playing Wings of Fury.
Ooh,
Wings of Fury. Good. It's shooter week on Amigos.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right, guys.
That one I know.
We will see you next time. Until then, adios.
Adios.